Greetings, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast on YouTube. I am Charles Taylor, and I am riding by myself for this one. Hopefully, Patrick and a couple of other guests can get back on the show with me next week. But to begin this week's show, it's a lot of things to cover. The Olympics are going on. I want to dive into Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers' comments about above the things with the collective bargaining agreement, what is going on with the Al Jazeera report, and about the pending suspension. Sorry, couldn't talk. The pending suspensions of Clay Matthews and James Harrison, among the others. Julius Peppers and Mike Neal are on that list too. And we will also dive into the Buffalo Bills' future with defensive lineman Marcell Dareus. But let's start with the Olympics. Let's start with some of the good things first. You have the Jamaicans dominating in track and field. Now, that's not a good thing because, of course, we're in the U.S. and we want the Americans to do well in track and field. But if they are going to take over the sprinting, they have a lot of work to do to catch the Jamaicans. Elaine Thompson won the women's 100 and 200 meters, and it looks like Usain Bolt, who of course won gold in the 100, 200, and the 4x100 relays in the Olympics in 2008 in Beijing and 2012 in London. Looks like he's on a pace to do that again. He's already won the 100. He's in the final for the 200, and they have the 4x100 relay coming up on Friday. So we have the Jamaicans dominating on the track, but there is one part where the Americans are dominating, and that is the women's 100-meter hurdles. We swept the medal count on that. So there's still some work to do with the sprinting anyway. But they have some young ones coming up, and maybe for like 2020 in Tokyo, they'll be hoisting the gold medal instead of a couple of the silver and bronze. Nothing wrong with the silver and bronze, but we all want gold. So we have that. And of course, you saw what happened with the swimming. Katie Ledecky, Michael Phelps dominating in the medal count there. And in gymnastics, Simone Biles dominating there, 4 gold medals out of 5 events. So those are some of the good things that are going on. But let's look at some of the bad things that's going on. And really, one major thing that has been popping up on the news, if you've seen it, you know, 4 U.S. swimmers were apparently, according to the report that came out on Sunday, were held up at gunpoint or were robbed at gunpoint. The headliner of this is Ryan Lochte. He's a 12-time Olympic gold medalist, and he was one of the 4 who apparently was held up and robbed at gunpoint. Now, little things are starting to trickle out, and it's looking more and more, nothing really confirmed yet, but it's looking more and more that the story was fabricated, that it wasn't a robbery at all. There's a lot of video coming out showing the guys in a inebriated state, walking around, going to the wrong taxis at the gas station. There's reports that they damaged the gas station. Video of them walking through the checkpoint at the Olympic Village pretty casually, not looking like somebody who has been robbed. So the major thing with this is if it comes out, this is a lie. This whole thing was fabricated. If you're Ryan Lochte, why would you do that? Who would go and make up a story about them being robbed at gunpoint? I don't understand that at all. But if this is the case, that he was lying about this and the other swimmers were lying about it, or their stories weren't matching up to Lochte's, then this is bad. This is a bad look for Ryan Lochte altogether. Not only would it hurt him in terms of his credibility, but it's gonna hurt him in the pocketbook. He's not gonna be endorsed by all these other sponsors anymore. They're not gonna want anything to do with that because how can you trust the dude? So this is looking really, really bad. More to come on it, definitely, but it's not looking good for Ryan Lochte. On Wednesday, Apparently, a Brazilian judge had filed some search and seizure warrants for Lottie and James Fagan, one of the other swimmers who apparently were held up. Lottie's already back in the U.S. And what the search and seizure warrant entails is they're not supposed to leave the country of Brazil. Basically, they were wanted for more questioning. And once those warrants get issued, then they are supposed to stay in the country until everything works itself out. Well, Lottie had already returned to the U.S. before any of this was issued. And I'm pretty sure he won't be returning to Brazil anytime soon unless he is forced to. This is really, really weird on how all this is coming out and how stories are changing. So just like you, I'm just watching just to see how everything goes down. So it'll be interesting to see. Let's move on to the comments made by Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. So basically what he was commenting on are the pending suspensions of two of the linebackers on his team, Clay Matthews and Julius Peppers. Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker James Harrison is also on this list. And what it boils down to is this Al Jazeera report that said these guys were perhaps using performance enhancing drugs. Peyton Manning, who of course is now retired, was also part of this whole rumor, this story, but he wasn't going to be suspended and everything was cleared on his end. Well, you have James Harrison saying he's not going to talk unless some certain stipulations are met. Basically, James Harrison would want to do the interview with the league at home, and Roger Goodell, the commissioner, has to be present. To Aaron Rodgers' comments, basically what he was saying about everything that's going on is he's not going to blame Roger Goodell, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he's not going to blame Roger Goodell for any of the decisions that come down because it boils down to a collective bargaining agreement that gave Commissioner Roger Goodell executive power, basically, to make any disciplinary rulings. It's about time somebody has said this in the league, because this is what I've been preaching, and Patrick has come on here and preached about this also. But this is what we've been preaching about all along. When you bargain a collective bargaining agreement, when you negotiate that and you throw into this agreement, somebody is basically the judge, jury, and executioner of all matters disciplinary in the league. This is what you can get sometimes. So you have the NFL saying, hey, if these guys do not talk to us by August 25th, they can get a 4-game suspension. Now, so for what? I don't know, but I guess it has something to do with violating the performance enhancing drug policy. Now, with Aaron Rodgers' comments, I guess, could it be looked at as misinformed? Maybe, because there's different policies in the collective bargaining agreement. You have your performance enhancing drug policy, you have your substance abuse policy, you have your personal conduct policy. There's a lot of things in this agreement that aren't really hand in hand. They're just different just by the way they are interpreted. But in terms of what Aaron Rodgers was saying generally, I am completely on his side for this, because when you have that agreement and you give somebody that type of power, you cannot be upset, especially if you're on the NFLPA Players Union, about what decisions come down. You can't be upset about that because you negotiated this. So for the NFLPA to go and say whatever they're going to say, I guess they're going to come out with whatever statement today. But if they're going to make a statement, which is probably going to be the normal statement of we don't agree with the NFL and how they're handling this, you collectively bargained this. So there's no leg really for you to stand on. Now, I don't agree with everything Roger Goodell does. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with Roger Goodell on, and how he handles some things, such as the conduct from players with domestic violence and some of those rulings, and how somebody can get just as many games of a suspension for deflating footballs as they could for someone beating their woman or some type of domestic violence thing. I don't understand that, and I never will understand that. But when this is collectively bargained, those are the type of decisions that are possible. Do we agree with them? Do they make sense a good amount of times? Probably not. But when you have that agreement, we really don't have a leg to stand on. And that's where the players union is standing on. And I agree with Aaron Rodgers saying what he said yesterday about the collective bargaining agreement. It is the ruling that has been used to uphold Tom Brady's 4-game suspension. It is the ruling that was used to uphold Adrian Peterson's suspension. Now, Adrian Peterson is a different case because he had already served his suspension, and basically he just has to pay some fines. But this is what's in the agreement. Since this is what is in the agreement, a lot of the courts, they don't really want to get involved in what is supposed to be collectively bargained. So they are going to go to that as their ruling. And that's what a lot of these federal courts are doing. Now, Aaron Rodgers, his comments have nothing to do with the federal courts. But when this agreement was conjured up, that is the basis. This is why you have unions to negotiate these things, so it won't have to go to a higher level. So this needs to be worked out soon with this whole Al Jazeera report, because we were talking about this last year. We were playing football last year, and this story is coming up still. Stop dragging your feet with these disciplinary actions. Look at the case, come up with a decision, announce the decision, and move on. For these cases and these allegations or whatever to be dragging on for months and months, and in a couple cases, a year, is ridiculous. You have people who get paid great money to make these decisions and keep things rolling. Let's get that going. There's another season that's about to start in a few weeks, and this is one of the stories that is coming up. Clean your stuff up, NFL. Clean it up. So other NFL matters. Let's look at the Buffalo Bills and what they are doing with Marcell Dareus. So he was suspended 4 games for, I think it was a personal conduct situation, and this is the second time he's been suspended. So the Buffalo Bills, they have a decision to make. I mean, I guess they'll probably give him another chance because you just signed him to a big long-term deal. But if you're the Buffalo Bills, you just have to wonder if this is the right place to invest your money. You obviously felt this man is talented enough and he could be a pillar as you're trying to build your team. You could use Marcell Dareus as a guy you could build the defense around. Every team has people they want to build their team around, that core. Marcell Dareus looks to be one of those guys, but if you can't trust him to be on the field, then that puts the team in the organization in a big mess, because it keeps you from signing other free agents if you're invested all this money into one person. And that's the thing when you sign these guys to these big deals. You're counting on them to be a big part of your team for the future. For the future, which means you want them to be on the field or on the court or whatever part or whatever sport the person plays. You plan on them being a huge part of what you're trying to build there. With Marcell Dareus, I mean, we'll see. He's had his share of run-ins. Hopefully, he can learn from this, and after the 4-game suspension, can come back and be a part of the team and can just clean his act up. If that doesn't happen, well, it could be another one of those stories of a man who has immense talent to be one of the best players in the league, but they can't stay out of trouble. So therefore, since they can't stay out of trouble, all their career goes down the toilet. I hope that is not the case for Marcell Dareus. And they really need Marcell Dareus at the time. The Bills' defense has been ravaged with injuries. Shaq Lawson, the defensive end they drafted this past April in the NFL draft, we don't know when he's going to come back with the shoulder injury. Another draft pick they had this year, the linebacker out of Alabama, Reggie Ragland, he's gone for the year. And then another linebacker, man, I can't think of his name. Kampali, I think his name is. Fact check me on that to make sure I said that right. But you would know him as the guy who punched New York Jets quarterback Geno Smith in the face and broke his jaw last year. But he's out for the year as well for Buffalo. So the Bills need somebody who can kind of steady that defense. And Marcell Dareus is supposed to be one of those guys. If he's not there, then who knows what Buffalo is going to do. When Marcell Dareus gets back, they could very possibly be 0-4, maybe 1-3. I don't know how everything is going to come out, but this is just not a good look for Marcell Dareus or the Buffalo Bills. One more thing before I wrap this show up. We didn't get to talk about LeBron James getting 3 years or signing a 3-year deal for approximately $100 million to stay in Cleveland. Now, the fact he's staying in Cleveland, of course, is not a surprise, especially since the Cavaliers won the NBA title this past season. We all knew LeBron was going to stay with the team. The question was, how much was he going to sign for? Was he going to do one of those 2-year deals with the option for a second year? Well, he did a 3-year deal with I think is an option for a third year, but it's 3 years, $100 million. Now, what this does and what's really significant about this is he is now the NBA's highest paid player. Now, I know Patrick will have his thoughts about this because he's not one of those guys who wants to call LeBron James the best player in the league, but he is. LeBron James is the best player in the league, and right now it's not that close. I mean, nobody can do the stuff he does on the court consistently. Now that he is the NBA's highest paid player, that it is well deserved, and it's about time. He is the NBA's highest paid player. It's about time somebody unseated Mike Conley out of that spot. And if guys like Alan Crabb and Bismack Biyombo can get $18 million a year or more, then LeBron can definitely make twice what they're making, or almost twice what they're making, because he is well deserving of it. The man has led a team to the NBA Finals 6 years in a row. He's a 4-time MVP, a 3-time NBA champion. LeBron definitely deserves to be the highest paid player in the league. So happy for him. He got that money. And this is coming from a guy who has more than thrown his share of criticism toward LeBron James over the years. But he has been more than a beast in this game. He has done his thing to the degree I didn't think he could meet. There's been a lot of expectation placed on him from his days in high school. And I think he has met those expectations, if not exceeded him, probably in some cases has exceeded him. And the man is still in his low 30s, so he still has some good playing left in him. But it is about time. He is the highest paid basketball player in the league. With that, that will wrap up this show, this version of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. I should be back on the air next week. Probably Tuesday is what I'm looking at. But hopefully everybody enjoys everything that's going on. NFL preseason football is back in the fold. Enjoy that. Enjoy the final days of the Olympics. Enjoy the pennant races going on in baseball. We'll talk more about that next week as well. And just enjoy the weekend. Enjoy everything about the weekend. Follow us on Google+. Well, follow us on Twitter. Look for us on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We are on those sites, and we're posting the webcast on this site, on those sites if you can't watch it on YouTube. And again, leave feedback. Let us know what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. Just let us know everything, and we'll be sure to look at those comments. And if they need fixing, then we'll fix them. But you will know, we will respond. Definitely. So until then, everybody, enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.